Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to look at the Legacy metagame because we have the Legacy Showcase Challenge this weekend. And so if you're wondering what to play in the Legacy Showcase Challenge, in any of the Legacy Challenge, or in your local Legacy tournament if they still have those, this is what people are playing. Now what we're going to look at is the top 32 of challenges, any 4-0s or 3-1s from prelims, and 5-0s from leagues. So, albeit, this is a winner's metagame. It isn't a perfect snapshot of what people are playing. But if you win your first few rounds, this is the likelihood of, what decks you're going to be playing against. If we look at the overall metagame for Legacy, the number one, still standing tall, is Blue-Red Delver. Now, some versions of Blue-Red Delver have been playing a single Underground Sea and playing like Snuff Out to try to combat Initiative, which is the second most popular deck. But Delver is adapting and keeping up with these innovative decks and frankly, the Initiative boogeyman that has popped up in Legacy. For those of you that don't know, what the deck does is a tempo deck. It plays very, very cheap, aggressive creatures in Murktide Regent, Delver of Secrets, Dragon's Rage Channeler, and then protects them with counter spells and clears the way with removal spells and draws a ton of cards and is a extremely good, extremely consistent deck. You see a lot of your deck, and it rewards really solid, clean play. The second most popular deck by a very slim margin is Initiative. This is a white stompy deck that abuses the Initiative mechanic, where you venture into the Undercity. When you venture into the Undercity, it's kind of like a Planeswalker that you activate once, maybe multiple times a turn. As you venture through the Undercity, things happen. Some are very aggressive things, like target opponent lose 5 life, or if you get all the way through the Undercity by playing Initiative creatures or still having the initiative by your opponent not dealing damage to you on your upkeep. When you get to the end of the Undercity, you look at the top 10 cards of your library, pick a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and you play cards like Solitude and more things into the Undercity. It gets +1/+1 counters and hexproof until your next turn, which is just disgusting. Like, it's really hard to not win the game. This is an extremely powerful deck and is the first time Delver has been truly challenged as the top slot. And so we'll see how Initiative adapts to Delver's adaptations, and I'm excited for it. The third most popular deck, by the way, there's a very large gap between Initiative and Delver, but I always do the top three. Third most popular deck is Reanimator. The point of Reanimator is to put a very powerful creature into the graveyard with either Faithless Looting or more likely Entomb, or possibly griefing yourself, putting something like Grizzlebrand or Archon of Cruelty into the graveyard, and then reanimating it with many, many Reanimator spells. I think this deck is becoming popular because it is non-interactive, kind of like the Initiative deck. And while you have a bunch of stuff that dies to Solitude, reanimating like an Archon of Cruelty, they sacrifice an Initiative creature, and then they like Solitude your Archon of Cruelty. You can then like reanimate your opponent's Initiative creature, and you're the Initiative deck now. There's a lot of play against Initiative decks, and Reanimator's been rewarded for that. However, if we turn our gaze to the top 8 metagame, the top 3 decks are very slightly different. The top 2 decks remain the same, with 6 copies in top 8s of 2 of the challenges this past weekend. Blue-Red Delver, 2 copies for Initiative. So, a lot of decks are gunning for Initiative. It's really hard to gun for a deck that plays Forcible and Delver of Secrets, but it's easier to like tune your deck to try to beat Initiative, which is, I think, why they didn't put so many decks in top 8. And like I said, you can increase your win percentage really dramatically with Blue-Red Delver, where it's hard to with Initiative. There are a lot less choices than Blue-Red Delver besides mulligans. The third most popular deck, however, is Painter. And so there's a mono-red Painter that does something like this as well, where they name blue and then have like Power Blasts and can do cute stuff like that. But there's a new hotness in town that is like an affinity-ish mono-blue Painter deck. But both decks remain really similar to each other. The point is to control your opponent. The red deck does it with Blood Moon and like Power Blast. The blue deck does it with like Force of Will. Play Painter Servant, name any color. The red version always wants to name blue because of Power Blast. Often Painter decks name black against Delver now so that it can't be Snuff Out, which is just like a nightmare. And then they play Grindstone, they mill their opponent, and everything in your opponent's deck is the same color, so they mill their entire deck and die. Again, these non-interactive strategies, Painter has kind of popped up as being okay against Delver, can kind of beat up Initiative, especially with like Force of Will is really good against Initiative. They don't have Cavern of Souls, as they often just keep one creature. So it makes sense Painter put 2 in the top 8. If you're curious for future metagames, please be sure to like and subscribe. I do one every week. Hopefully, I'm making a change of relevant formats for the tournament of the coming weekend, either on Magic Online or on Arena or in paper once they switch RCQs to a single format next season. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.